So now, welcome everyone. We are now moving into our last session of today, which is also our very last session of our week-long SEL for NJ webinar series. It's just been a tremendous week full of learning, and we are so grateful to all of our partners who have volunteered their time and their insights and their expertise. So we're really excited to be ending our week with this presentation we're about to dive into. It should be mentioned, our intention is to have the recordings of all of the workshops available for you to, peruse. We know, of course, that many of you have not been able to attend every session. So these will be available along with the resources. So we just need a chance to get that organized, but they will be available. And as said before, tomorrow is SEL Day. The idea is to share on the social media platform of your choice an artifact, a message, a positive message, hashtag SEL Day and tag SEL4NJ. And I shared earlier, we got some great news within the last 24 hours. Both the New Jersey State Board of Education, they have issued a resolution proclaiming tomorrow SEL Day. It was unanimous. We're just thrilled at the support from the Department of Education and the State Board of Ed. And likewise, this morning, Governor Murphy proclaimed tomorrow and issued a proclamation that tomorrow is SEL Day in New Jersey. So it's great, and it's wonderful for all of you to be a part of this. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to two amazing individuals, Alicia Ray Harliak from Rutgers, from the School Climate Transformation Project, and Pat Wright, who many of you know from PSA. So over to both you and to Alicia and Pat. Over to you guys.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Liz, for the warm welcome, and to everyone who is joining us today. We really appreciate you making the time to be here and hope that you're having a great SEL week so far. As the closing session for this incredible and inspiring week of SEL webinars provided by SEL for New Jersey, our goal today is to provide participants with immediate access to resources to support your steps in building a strong and supportive school where SEL can thrive. A great first action following this week's full call to action is to assess your overall school climate and conditions for SEL so that your school will be well positioned to create or expand on SEL implementation in a way that's responsive to your current areas of strength and need, and which can be discovered through the collection of comprehensive school climate data. The New Jersey School Climate Improvement, or NJ SCI survey and platform are available at no cost to all public pre-K to 12 districts in New Jersey as an option for advancing school climate improvement and SEL measurement. We call it NJ SCI because we believe the sky is the limit when you're imagining and creating excellent educational environments for all students. My name is Alicia Ray Harlak, and I'm a co-project manager at the School Climate Transformation Project, which is a partnership between the Rutgers University Graduate School for Applied and Professional Psychology and the New Jersey Department of Education that's been going on for some time. We've supported schools in the past in using a previous version of the State School Climate Survey, and now by building a platform, we've expanded our potential support to any school and district in the state, and we're very excited about that. I am also a member of the leadership team for SEL for New Jersey. It is my pleasure and privilege to be joined today by someone I've learned a tremendous amount from and collaborated with in this work, Pat Wright, former executive director of the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association, senior consultant to the Foundation for Educational Administration, and author of the book Sustainable School Improvement, Fueling the Journey with Collective Efficacy and Systems Thinking. Pat was also instrumental in providing feedback during the early development of the NJ SCI survey, with her insight as an administrator and as someone who has worked with many, if not most, of the districts in the state of New Jersey. As we close the series of SEL Week webinars, we wanted to help you translate the excitement and inspiration that you felt during the prior sessions into action. No matter where your school is on your journey to building a positive school climate and the conditions for effective SEL, it's important to be always gathering informal and formal data to assess how things are going and how they can also be improved. To that end, we would like each of you to take a moment to think about the ways that your school or district currently learns about SEL and school climate strengths and needs. There are data everyone collects already, such as chronic absenteeism data and disciplinary data. and you may have used other measures of school climate instruments in the past. Feel free to share your thoughts in a few words in the chat. And of course, we know from the prior session, very excited to hear that many doing excellent exemplary SEL implementation are already users of the NJ SCI platform and survey as well to help track and kind of keep tabs on their efforts and find areas for improvement. So kind of keep thinking about those sources of data that you may have used before as we talk a little bit more about the school climate transformation process in general. And so as educators, you already have some data at your fingertips to begin to explore how members of the community and particularly students feel in your school. Today, our focus will be helping participants understand the role of school leaders and especially the school safety school climate team in strategically using data to improve school climate and improve the conditions for SEL implementation. We'll overview the conditions for learning or domains of school climate measured on the newly developed and recently validated NJ SCI survey. And time permitting, you'll also get a sneak peek at how the NJ SCI platform supports schools in their use of data to develop strategic school climate goals. And it also recommends research-based strategies for improving in the areas that are identified for growth, with SEL for both staff and students being very commonly adopted and very popular strategies among users of our system. And just to start out with a broad definition of school climate is a broad concept that acknowledges when a person enters a school community, it has a particular quality or character that they perceive through the lens of their own experiences, identities, interests, and characteristics. Many times when we use the word climate, people think of the weather. And in some ways it is similar to the weather because it describes how people feel in the school and the conditions for learning. And just like with the weather, data can be used to measure school climate through regular temperature checks and observation. In the case of school climate, what matters is how each and every member of the community perceives the environment. School climate has been shown to foster the physical, psychological, social, and emotional well-being of students and can help support reduced violence and bullying. For staff, there are tremendous benefits as well, as positive school climates support educator commitment, motivation, workplace morale, and for families, it also cultivates greater levels of engagement and satisfaction with school. So this slide shows the domains or conditions for learning that are measured by the NJ SCI survey. And as you can see, the definition of school climate truly is all-encompassing, covering various aspects of the everyday life of respondents as members of the school community. The blue domains that you see listed on the right side of the graphic here are measured from the point of view of all respondent groups, including students in grades 3 to 12, all staff, and parents and caregivers. I'll come back in a moment to student SEL, which I'd like to highlight in particular. On the left side of our graphic, you see domains that are measured for specific groups only on the survey. So we only ask students to report on their personal sense of belonging. You'll see that in green, there are 3 professional domains from the point of view of staff in the building, and that it's designed for all staff, certified and non-certified. And these include leadership support, organizational resources and supports, and collegial support from colleagues. And then finally, we measure family support and engagement only from the perspective of adults. We found that students tend to have very high assessments of their parents' interest and investment in their learning. So again, I want to highlight a unique domain that was added to the survey based on the priorities of the state, as well as feedback that we received through our work with schools across the state. And that's our supports for student social and emotional learning, which looks at the conditions for the implementation and the successful teaching of the New Jersey Department of Education SEL competencies, which were adopted in 2017 and adapted from the 5 CASEL competencies of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. SEL is an important component of the school environment that shapes interpersonal relationships and also helps set the stage for other domains or conditions for learning. We believe that all children should have access to an overall safe and supportive learning environment, no matter where they live or who they are, and that the same should be said of SEL, given all of the ways that SEL contributes to the individual and group success in life and in learning. I sometimes make the analogy of SEL being like a vehicle that can take us to a destination that we all envision together, and that looks like a school with positive and supportive climate. You can think of the leadership support, the training, and the resources provided as the gas to power the vehicle, or the charge if you're driving an electric vehicle. And the map that's being held is made up of the school's mission, curriculum, all of the various strategies that they implement to keep driving toward that vision for improvement. The flat, smooth road and the weather are the conditions around the car. And the more support from the members of the community, the smoother and clearer the drive is towards a better and more positive school for all. And as Pat will talk about in a moment, the ones holding that map in the car are often the members of the school climate leadership team that are driving efforts and kind of organizing and keeping on track. The domain handout that I'm showing here will be shared by Pat along with other resources in a folder that she'll tell you about in a moment. And with that, I'll hand it over to Pat to describe the vital role of the school climate leadership team. And I will also share in the chat the URL to that folder that she will talk about in just a moment.
So, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and certainly a pleasure to be with Alicia and to really talk about the importance of the school climate team. I had the opportunity to chair the first state's anti-bullying task force for 3 years. We collected a lot of information about the implementation of the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. And one thing that we discovered, and I just sat on the most recent anti-bullying task force, and our report is available at the NJ DOE website. But one of the things that we really found, and Alicia, if everybody wants to, Alicia, I think you put this in the chat, right? The URL. We'll get to that in a minute because there are a couple of resources I wanted to share. But one thing we know is that school climate does not fix itself. And that there has to be a deliberate effort to continually improve the school climate. So one of the things that that we have seen is with the implementation of the school climate teams. As you know, the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights required schools to have a team, and this team was supposed to, tucked away in the legislation somewhere, it said something about the school climate team should meet. First of all, they called it a school safety team, which was a huge misnomer because this team is not about lockdowns, fire drills, etc. Right? This team is about school climate. The anti-bullying task force, the first one, had the name changed in code to safety/climate team. But I will forever call it, and so should you, the school climate team. Because somewhere tucked in the legislation, it said this. It said that school climate teams should meet twice a year and look at HIB reports. That was unfortunate that that was put into the legislation because everybody at the beginning of implementing the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights focused on the compliance issues within that law. So we had to have an anti-bullying specialist. We had to have an anti-bullying coordinator. It had to be on our websites. We had to have 10-day investigations. We had timelines about when things should be reported to the board and when parents should receive appropriate notification, right? And then was that little thing about looking at that little part about us as school climate teams sitting down and looking at HIB reports. Why? Right? That was only a small part of the law, because the reason why we look at HIB reports is that
thinking we're white trash.
the reason that we look at HIB reports is to really look at trends that are happening in our building. Where is this HIB occurring? What is happening to the students involved in this? Are there any trends in terms of the whys that this is occurring? And so again, that's part of the reason is data. However, I want you at the current slide, this is the role of the anti-bullying task force. This is the school climate team. The Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights spells out that the team is supposed to be developing, fostering, and maintaining a positive school climate. And more importantly, they're supposed to be doing this by focusing on the ongoing and systemic processes and practices in the school, and to address school climate issues such as harassment, intimidation, and bullying. The school climate team, as Alicia pointed out before, is responsible for looking at the many dimensions of school climate, which school climate is a large construct. And we need to think about all of the dimensions. That team is really at the heart and soul of the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights, because what it is it's the preventative part of that law. Because one thing we know is that the single best way to reduce HIB, harassment, intimidation, and bullying in our schools, is to create the type of climate where it is least likely to occur. And so important that these teams, and if you go to the next slide, Alicia, that these teams really be representative of all the stakeholders, including students. In a minute, I'm going to give you it's in your handouts, actually, in that folder, some 10 conversations that I believe in the work that I do with school climate teams across the state. These are the 10 conversations that we want school climate teams to be having, right? The school climate team needs to be representative of all the stakeholders, including students. So we want students to be involved in those conversations wherever possible. We know that the climate team must consist of the anti-bullying specialist who is leading the team, but it also has to have the principal. I can't say enough how important leadership is in this journey to improve school climate. And so if it's not the principal, it needs to be another senior administrator that is on that team, along with a representative of so many of our stakeholders. There must be a parent who is there to hear anything that is not confidential information. And we want to make sure that, for example, in a K-8 school, that we're including teachers from the primary grades, from the middle grades, from the intermediate grades. We want to make sure that in a high school, we're including people who run after school activities, coaches, right? Because school climate doesn't end when the bell rings at 3:10. School climate goes over into school-sponsored activities and events. So this team is supposed to be operating as a professional learning community team, really deeply inquiring about what's happening with the current school climate, how can we improve our in-school climate. So looking at data, looking at best practices in school climate improvement, implementing those on a cycle of continuous improvement, looking at the impact, seeing what's working and what's not, right? In large districts, school climate teams, I know when I was a principal in East Brunswick, our school climate teams work together across the board in the district, trying to create a district climate. So when students move from one district to another, it wasn't like one school to another within a district, wasn't like they were going to a foreign country, right? So our school climate teams having conversations across the district is also very important to school climate improvement. And the next slide, Alicia. So as I said, we believe, and I love this quote, right, that all problems exist in the absence of good conversation. We should be having the right conversations about our school climate, which includes looking at school climate data. And those conversations you will find in your folder. I gave you 10 conversations that you can bring back to your teams and ask yourselves, have we had these conversations? What conversations have we had? What conversations do we need as you move forward with school climate improvement? Okay, great. Alicia, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Pat. As Pat emphasized, the role of the school climate leadership team is central to the implementation of a data-driven school climate change process, such as the one that's used by the NJ SCI Platform, which I'll describe now. So to be successful, the school climate leadership team needs to be backed with district support, as well as equitable and inclusive engagement of community members at every stage of the process. And it is cyclical, as Pat mentioned. Once that team is developed, data are collected to establish baseline needs and strengths using the survey that we were so grateful to have Pat and so many others in this room and across the state give their input on to make sure that it was really capturing very specific, tangible, concrete areas of school climate to drive action and identify really specific areas in some cases that need improvement. So at that point, the team works together and they develop their data literacy skills and work together to come to consensus and dig deeper into the observed strengths and needs that they're seeing in the data, discussing root causes and beginning to determine which of the areas or domains they might prioritize for school climate improvement goals. Then the team works together to develop SMART goals using indicators from the NJ SCI survey, which are then automatically tracked during subsequent data collection using the survey. The team then aligns research-based practices to the plan after doing an inventory of existing school climate strategies that they're already doing, and then also cross-checking, even if they are doing something, are they doing it completely? And our platform provides a library of recommended research-based strategies in the NJ SCI platform itself that lists out very concrete core components for effective implementation of common school climate strategies and recommended strategies. Then they decide as a team, with all the things they're doing and all the things they now know about their strengths and needs, are there strategies we should pause that are unrelated to the priorities? Are there strategies we're already doing, like we've started SEL, but we need to either expand it, implement it with more fidelity, or modify it somewhat because we're doing it, but we're still not where we want to go, or aligned with research-based practice in the way that we should be. Or a team may decide that they want to start to adopt a new systems level strategy from the ground up in response to the needs shown in the data. Then at that point, they identify individuals that lead implementation and complete regular implementation logs in the NJ SCI platform, which indicate whether those research-based core components for effective practice are not in place, partially in place, or fully in place, resulting in an implementation score. Once a reasonable amount of time has passed and the implementation fidelity is moving up and improving, the team repeats the cycle, collects data again using the survey, and then the platform's progress monitoring features and graphing tools help the team to visualize the progress, both on their NJ SCI indicators that are in the goals that they set, but also alongside their implementation data so they can make sense of this is what we did and how well we did it. And these are some of the outcomes that we observed over that given time. If improvements don't occur as expected, the team can revisit the strategic plan and make modifications to support growth. And this process of changing systems level perceptions of school climate domains for everyone in a group can take between 3 to 5 years. So the NJ SCI platform supports that leadership team with that roadmap through our SCI calendar feature, listing out meetings with agendas, activities and note-taking interfaces, as well as just a sequence to these are the steps that you should take on an annual basis to kind of keep this process of monitoring progress, improving, and driving toward those goals going. The platform is designed to be a one-stop shop. So we want to make school climate improvement simple and to help with the integration with other related initiatives and projects. One example would be positive behavior supports in schools, but we also know that some of our users of the platform use the tools that we provide to do monitoring or reporting for grants or other programs they may be involved in as well. So before I tell you about how to join the NJ SCI platform, just a few quick facts about the survey itself. Our project, the SCTP, worked with the schools that we had formerly supported using the New Jersey School Climate Survey and used their feedback and our experiences, along with a review of recent literature and an extensive community input process involving practitioners and representatives from our partner organizations to update the survey to reflect the needs and priorities of the state of New Jersey and their schools. We've designed surveys for students in grades 3 to 5, students in grades 6 to 12, similar to the NJ SCS, for all staff and for parents and caregivers. And in the redesign, we paid careful attention to making sure that items were aligned as closely as possible across those different groups so that we can compare perceptions across the groups on the same topics. We're really proud that the survey has been made available in 33 languages, including English, with the support of certified translators as well. And so we've made the process of administering the survey and going through those analytical steps and planning steps as easy as possible. When it comes to administering the survey, it only takes a few clicks to create links to different surveys for each school. And those generate auto-filled templates for communicating with members of the community about the survey, as well as training staff in the building that will administer the survey to students as well. And these are some of the other resources and supports that the platform provides, which I had overviewed in the prior slide describing the school climate change process. So at this time, I'm going to do a quick demo of the NJ SCI platform. I'm particularly going to focus on our conditions for student social and emotional learning domain, so you can get a flavor for the types of items that are captured in that domain. And I'll also try to show a preview of our strategy resources that support systems level SEL design and implementation. Any interested school staff who are here today are welcome to reach out and schedule a more in-depth demo and walkthrough of the platform, as well as a one-on-one meeting. And you can do that by submitting an interest form on our homepage, which I'll share with you at the closing. So I'll just bring us over to the platform interface, which you can see on my screen. I'm currently navigating our demo district and a demo school called Goldfinch K-8 school. So this is what a school site would look like for a school that's part of a multi-school district. And I'm looking at it through the view of a superintendent who has the capability to kind of manage the data and do various other tasks, such as inviting other users to the system, viewing data, and things of that nature as well. So you'll see in the dashboard, this kind of lays out all of the different kind of areas that you might want to look at first, such as upcoming activities as scheduled in the NJ SCI calendar, which I'll show in a moment. You'll also see that there's a space for the development of the team. So you can invite users to the district or school site as part of the NJ SCI platform. As Pat mentioned, it's really important to have a strong team with a diverse set of perspectives and roles who can contribute to various stages of the school climate improvement process. We also have our calendar feature that I mentioned before that lays out basically a roadmap from the beginning, joining the platform, developing your team, through preparing for survey administration and the steps that happen once you have the data in hand. Whenever you add these to the calendar, they appear for all members. And when you start the meeting, you're also able to access a preset suggested agenda, activities, and a note-taking interface so that everything can be done and stored in the platform. And it's very clear what you should be doing now and doing next. Now I'm going to show the data collection and reports interface. So we have very extensive guidance in the platform. It's exportable as a PDF as well, that go through the best practices for survey data collection when it comes to school climate. We also have our survey deployment interface, which particular members of the team, the data coordinator, team champion, or team chair, are able to deploy on behalf of the school. So that process, as I mentioned, is as simple as clicking a button, selecting start and end dates, and modifying or setting a password. Once that's done, there's a live survey link that's linked here with those auto-generated letters that inform the community about the survey itself. You can view live counts of the number of people that have taken the survey to determine when it's time to close. And you can always extend and modify the start and end dates as well. Now I'll quickly show you what our live interactive reporting interface looks like. You can see, because this is a K-8, there are reports for both the students' grades 3 to 5 and 6 to 12 survey, as well as counts of respondents in those various groups broken down by self-reported demographic characteristics that are gathered at the end of the survey. I'll just show you an individual respondent group report, and we're looking at students grade 3 to 5. These are demo data, so there's not a lot of variation, and they don't really mirror what we see typically in data from across the state. They're a little bit lower, but just keeping in mind for the look and feel, we organize the report from the highest overall mean for a domain to the lowest, so strengths to needs, with some system insights popping up along the way with explanations that we're flagging this because it's below a 2.5 on a 4-point scale, which means there's a considerable amount of people that are disagreeing with a positive statement. We also, along with the overall mean for the domain, present the overall response distribution, the total number of respondents. And if you click on a domain, as I'll do for this one as our example domain, you'll see that you get an item level breakdown as well, with the mean for that item, the response distribution with some cool graphics you can use for presentations, and again, those insights from the system. We do have the ability to disaggregate the data. So in this case, I'll do it by whether English is the primary language spoken at home. And so what our system does is it flags those ones that go below a particular threshold, but it also can highlight and reflect disparities between one or more groups that exceed 0.5 on that 4-point scale. So you can be thinking about, overall, we may be having a strength in this area, but there may be a particular group that's not doing as well as others. You can see the item text on the left here is showing those conditions for SEL. So there is learning taking place, consistent teaching and promotion, of those New Jersey SEL competencies that I mentioned before. These questions are consistent across students, and they vary a bit in terms of the supports for staff and for parents and caregivers. So each report looks similar, you'll see, in terms of the entry point being the overall domains. I'm going to skip over the staff and parents and caregivers and show you our comparison view, which shows each domain with the respective overall domain across groups. And again, usually there's a little more variation in real data that can let you see, we see that this particular group of students has very high perceptions of how student SEL is doing, but the staff are a bit more critical. Why might that be? And then you can dive deeper and maybe find that there's an item about resources for staff or training for staff where, improvement in that particular area could bring their perceptions of conditions for SEL up as well. We also have equity insights and comparisons that highlight differences between particular groups. At this time, I'll just show you very quickly. One of the ways our reports is designed is that you may have noticed there are little bookmarks next to different data points that individual users can select as they go through the data. A green bookmark means that individual thinks that this is a strength that stands out. A red bookmark means it's a need, an area of need that we should discuss further as a team. And so this is a way of kind of filtering down all of the data in these huge reports that can be disaggregated and all of those layers of information to focus on those areas that may be areas to celebrate as a community. So for this particular one, you see student SEL is high and it has a number of positive bookmarks that could be described. As you get toward the bottom of the rank order here, you'll see things that are marked as potential priorities, and that may be based on those red bookmarks. The team can then dig deeper on the areas they prioritize. So I'll just show you as an example. If you want to talk more about supports for student SEL, we have some focusing questions here to try to figure out why are we observing what we're seeing in the area of student SEL, what are the areas we're already doing well that we can improve. And we also always recommend supplemental data collection to answer those unanswered questions that the data can bring up. I'll just quickly show you the goal setting interface and a sample goal from this school. So you can see at the top, this particular school has a goal around strengthening student relationships and social competencies with indicators, measurable indicators set on these two domains, pro-social student interpersonal behaviors and supports for student social emotional learning. So they set specific target scores and achieve by dates, which you can see are far in the future because this process does take time. And once those domains are set in the goal, what the user can do is go to the Add Strategies area, and the system will actually recommend strategies based on the alignment or overlap with domains in those goals. So the more domains are in your goal matched to the strategy with those domains, the higher up it is on the list, and you get a description of the particular domain and the linked domains based on research. So I'll just quickly go back to the plan so I can show you that goal that we were just looking at for this particular school. And so you can see that they've aligned strategies already, and two of them are SEL focused. One is student social and emotional learning and competency development. The other is staff social emotional learning and competency development. We always think these should go together because preparing the staff for SEL implementation is so important. One of the helpful things in the area that the system tracks your implementation on is these core components, which are, again, a list of pretty simple, universal aspects of the process of implementing research-based systems level SEL. So really starting with the leadership, thinking about what's the long-term plan, how is the district supporting, how does this get integrated and aligned effectively with other strategies that may be taking place, what expertise do we need to bring in to train our staff, what does our curriculum look like, kind of laying foundational aspects of SEL implementation. And then it gets into the more fine-grained, what does SEL look like in classroom context in different subject areas? What does it look like outside of the classroom? A lot of the things that the prior presenters really discussed in great detail, the on-the-ground implementation, get captured in these big universal buckets of things that make up that seamless, integrated, and effective systems level consistent SEL from the leadership vision to the everyday practice throughout the school. So we see these as great resources for schools, again, to kind of track and be able to score themselves on implementation over time so that when they go back to their goals and the system tracks for them how they're performing on their next data collection, they can make sense of that relative to their implementation data. So again, thank you for the opportunity to quickly demo the NJ SCI platform. And I'm going to bring us back to our closing slide with some resources that I'd like to share. I want to thank everyone that's here so much, as well as Pat, for the support of the NJ SCI platform, for the endorsement of this as a resource in terms of being a great free and accessible, research-based, validated option for driving school climate improvement in schools. And if you are interested in having your district get involved, if they're not already, please do visit our homepage, which is listed here, njschoolclimate.org, and fill out an interest form, which then leads us to contact your superintendent, who enters a terms of use agreement with us that basically outlines their ownership of the data, elaborates on how the data are, securely stored at Rutgers, never shared with any other group, and are the sole property of the district as well. And then opens up the opportunity to get into the system and begin developing the team and accessing the other resources right away. I've also included Pat Wright's email address here for any inquiries or training requests. And I've linked the NJ DOE social and emotional learning resources that align with the SEL competencies that they promote, as a reminder that those are there, and a great method for instituting that universal training to do effective school-wide SEL implementation. So thank you so much. And we'll be available for questions if there are any.
Let's see. We definitely want to leave time for questions in case there are any. So I think please feel free to unmute or type something in the chat. So if those of you are thinking of how to frame your question, in the meantime, I'd just like to thank both Alicia and Pat, as well as the New Jersey DOE and Rutgers, for making this amazing resource available to all the schools within the state. And also, Pat, your work around the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights and supporting schools and really understanding what it's all about is just invaluable. And we will do everything we can to share that message as well, so that everyone stays focused on the positive and on the prevention and the ways to really make a difference. So in any case, there's lots of amazing resources here. We will be sharing this deck as well as the recording from this session. So this will not be the last time you'll have access to this. So with that said, would love to wish everyone a very happy SEL Day. And thank you so much for joining us. And thank you again, Pat and Alicia, for everything you do, which is a whole lot. So with that said, enjoy the day, enjoy the week, and hope to see you all soon.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.